official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
It's time to football, ladies and gentlemen. The work is done. The wait is over. And we are now under 3 hours to a Cowboy kickoff. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. It's a Cowboy game day, and it is great to have you in. Cowboys and Browns week 1, and Dak is a newly paid man. It's been one hell of a day already. Bryan Broaddus, you're a Super Bowl champion, back for more football. And it's a great day, man. How the heck are you?
Doing great. Happy opening weekend, I guess, is what we got.
Week
right?
one. Week one.
Yeah, we've already had games on Thursday. Had a nice game on Thursday.
Awesome games.
Game on Friday was nice. So, yeah, the NFL's starting off very well once again. Kind of struggling here with my Cincinnati Bengals not playing very well against New England. We got that kind of, I'm looking to keeping an eye on that because of, survivor pick things. I kind of felt like that Cincinnati wasn't going to be a very good football team, but here we go. That's the great thing about the NFL.
G-Bag Nation survivor picks, and Broaddus and Wolchuk both went with the Bengals
yep.
to beat the Patriots. It's 0-0 to start the second quarter. I'm sure you will be fine.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
I got the Seahawks later today, and Gavin Dawson has the Saints. So he's feeling good, up 10-0 right now in the first quarter on the Panthers. But it's just great to have football back. So much to get into as it pertains to this particular game. We have Erin Andrews joining us at the top of the hour. Of course, we'll go out to Cleveland plenty here with Erin Andrews. We'll have our Cowboy insider, Bobby Belt. And also we'll go behind enemy lines with Nathan Zagura of the Browns play-by-play team, as well as Babe and Christy and all the fun stuff. We'll have Brad with Mike McCarthy. We'll go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones because there's plenty to discuss. And let's start, before we get into this matchup here, Broaddus, the news of Dak Prescott getting the contract. We were wondering, and we heard whispers all week long that this might be something that they can get done before the start of the season, which is basically the finish line on having hope on getting a deal done before the offseason gets here. And just a couple of hours ago, we get the breaking news that Dak Prescott is going to be the first $60 million man in the NFL, 4 years, $240 million contract, and he's the highest paid player in NFL history.
Can I ask you a question as you said a mouthful there?
Yeah.
Did Jerry Jones go all in? If you look at what he's done with CeeDee's contract and what he's done with Dak Prescott's contract.
No, this is not going all in. This is just paying. This is paying guys that, in CeeDee's case, maybe the best at his position, and Dak, one of the best for sure at a position in quarterback where the drop-off after like number 10 or 11 is precipitous. So if you got one of those 10 or 11 guys, which Dak is, you pay him. Going all in is saying, okay, we have these superstar type players at their positions, and now we're going to go and spend even more money to put more talent around these guys to win with these guys.
So the
one receiver and one quarterback's not getting the job done. When you're doing Hail Mary, let's get a guy who can stop the run on the interior of the defensive line 5 seconds before the season starts. Like, that's patchwork. That's just throwing something together. That's just trying to get the passing grade. And for the Cowboys, that's just getting to the playoffs. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you're not making like, oh my gosh, player moves that we need to depend on you type player moves in the middle of August. Because now the talent is dried up, and you're going after 35-year-old Linval Joseph you're hoping you can get half a season out of.
So the all-in thing to you would be that it all-in starts after the draft.
All in is, the Cowboys like to say it's 365 days a year. It's all the time.
Yeah.
Before the draft, when free agency is happening. For the Cowboys, they like to say free agency happens after the draft. Again, when everybody's cheap and everybody's got big time baggage. Are they old? Are they off an injury? Have they lost a step? What's the deal? Those are the guys the Cowboys want to go after. But if you want to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have to do a little bit more than that. Dak and CeeDee have proven them alone aren't winning you a Super Bowl.
Sure.
So when you go into a season like last year, you got no linebackers. You got no linebackers. That's telling me you have no desire to actually win the Super Bowl.
That's last season, right?
That's last season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This season, though, to me, this is where I'll give him some credit. And I'll give him some credit. They will always try and re-sign their own. That's something that they'll always do.
No question.
The thing that I'll give them credit for is they could have just sit here and played with Rodgers and Mozzie and those guys at defensive tackle. Could have just kind of played with the defensive ends that they had. Do you feel like they evaluated their team in a way of like, listen, we're not good enough on defense here. We're not good enough at defensive tackle. We're not good at, adding Carl Lawson and some of the things they did. And I get it. It's a cheaper way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if they would have sat there and just done nothing. I'd say you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
But to you all in, and I'm just trying to circle back because that was something that Jerry Jones, that's the theme
of the offseason.
That was their theme. That was their theme.
And it became kind of a joke.
Until Rooted came along.
Yeah,
and
now it's Rooted.
Now it's Rooted, and we still might be rooted.
We still might be rooted.
But to me, I wonder if Jerry Jones, when he talks to Christy Scales today, and has the opportunity, if the question will be about being all in, or will he bring up the all in? I wonder.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if he does. But this is not the.
I wonder if people like yourself or you cover the team, but I wonder if fans feel like going out and getting and paying that and paying CD, are those all in moves? Well,
877-881-1053. You can feel like that if you want to, and please let us know. But certainly trying to stay as optimistic for this particular season as possible, because things are just getting going here, and there's so much to be excited about. But in regards to being all in, I mean, do we want to have a serious conversation? Do we want to be in reality on what the all in nature looks like? Because this offseason has not been that.
See, I just wonder if you're going to hear that from their side of things.
Yeah. They may chalk it up to that.
They will tell you, because the questions have been asked about them about cash spending, and they were near the bottom of the table. And then Stephen Jones came on with us Friday. I think that Zach asked him the question about cash spending, and he said it goes every 4 years. You have teams, it goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder what this does for them on cash spending. Now, is that something you could even say against them anymore? I mean,
when you start stacking up the numbers now,
but like I said, this there was a side of me that believed that the quarterback was going to walk. I felt like there were different times and points and times of this offseason where I felt like the quarterback had just had enough. He'd had enough of, why do I have to wake up every morning and watch 2 or 3 national programs talk about my interception, and this, that, and the other, and everything.
What comes with being a Cowboys quarterback?
Yeah. And I wondered if it was something where he was just, I don't want to. Let me go to New Orleans or Tampa or one of these other cities, the Giants, whatever, and be a guy, be that kind of guy.
I think what we found out, Broaddus, is Dak has taken a thing or two from the Jerry way of doing things, and he's got a little bit more confidence and understanding and strategy as it pertains to talking to the media and the message that he wants to get out there. Because I'm with you. Yeah. I was starting to buy into some of the things. Dak is at the first day at the podium in Oxnard. We're watching him talk, and he's like, hey, I've seen a lot of great quarterbacks change teams, making it seem like, hey, I'm cool with whatever. And to some extent, I think he was being honest there to some extent. But if he was fully there, then he would not have signed a contract today, and he would have waited through this season and had multiple teams courting him, and they could wine and dine him, and he could do the NBA player free agency superstar thing of bouncing around and see what team you want to play for, get even more money than what he got today. Mm-hmm. And so clearly he does want to be here. And he wanted to be the first $60 million man. It wasn't just about being the highest paid quarterback, because they could have got that done at $56 or $57 million per year. So there was something to, hey, 60, that's where I want to be. But from the Cowboys standpoint, if this is the guy that you want, then you absolutely do that, because if you wait till the end of the season, 60 becomes 65, becomes 70 real quick when you have bidding wars and multiple teams going after him. So it shows that Dak was talking a lot about being open to the idea of playing for a different team, but I think it's pretty cool to know, no, this is absolutely where he wants to be.
Yeah, to me, I also wonder in further negotiations, is this what we could just expect from the Cowboys? That there's going to be likely a stalemate till the very last day, and then the player's ultimately going to get what he wants? When
it comes to the superstar big dollar dudes, absolutely. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, maybe the best receiver.
Parsons is going to be the next one that maybe does the stay in kind of a thing.
Oh, the old hold in. You're at training camp, but you're not doing anything until you get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that, and there's no reason to believe it'll go any other way. For a guy in Micah Parsons coming up in the offseason, he's going to be up for huge money.
Sure.
So that's going to, the way the Cowboys have done it with the superstar players, that's kind of the way it goes. So we'll see what happens. But Dak is now here for the next 4 years alongside CeeDee Lamb. The next 4 years, we continue the Dak and Lamb era, and I hope that the Cowboys do try
to. It's actually 5 years.
5, oh yeah, because it's the extension this year plus 4 more.
Exactly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yes, I hope that the Cowboys adjust the strategy in terms of team building and say, hey, we got some really awesome players. You got a really dang good quarterback. You have maybe the best receiver in the league. You have maybe the best pass rusher in the league. Let's really stock this thing up to where we don't get to January and we're looking around going, we don't have any linebackers. If you want to win a Super Bowl, I think that's probably the best approach there. But the Super Bowl opportunity starts today in Cleveland, and it is the official pregame show of America's Team, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. And we're starting a bunch of rookies today, Broaddus. Which one is at the top of your mind right now? Tyler Guyton versus Myles Garrett, or is it Kalen Carson getting a healthy dose of Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy?
It's Cooper Beebe.
It's the center.
Yeah.
Snapping the football concern you?
It all starts there. Everything for your offensive well-being starts with the snap. And it's just not, I'm trying to make it sound pretty simplistic, but it's, in a way, what happens. You're going to make calls. The whole thing is going to start up front with him, because what's going to happen is him and Dak are going to have to identify the Mike backer, and then all of a sudden, or they're going to have to identify that where Myles Garrett is. And once they identify where Myles Garrett is, now you're going to talk about Cooper Beebe, and others are going to have to communicate it. It's going to have to be communicated in a way that whatever running back's in there as well, if there's some chip plans going on or something like that, or they have to move protection or slide protection that way, Cooper Beebe's going to start this thing off. There's going to be a lot of that one hand on ball, kneeling down, kind of looking, survey, find. And Dak's going to walk up and he's going to point out, and then here we go. So yeah, it's going to start up front with Cooper Beebe of making sure they get the calls right, to set the protection and make sure that he gets the snaps. And then the time, last year when I went through and was looking at the pressures that the Browns were able to get and sacks that they were able to get during the season, there were 3 times where they had sacks where Myles Garrett was up over the center. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that Jim Schwartz understands that protection help is going to come on that left side.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he moves Garrett over on the other side and rushes him against Steele, knowing that he'll probably get more one-on-one matchups over there on that right side than he will on the left.
Okay, we'll bookmark that, because I got a couple of questions as it pertains to it, but we're just getting started here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome to Week 1, ladies and gentlemen. Cowboys in Cleveland to take on the Browns. We'll get out to Cleveland and hang out with Erin Andrews of Fox Sports coming up next right here on The Fan.
Are you ready to elevate your barbecue game? Matt Pittman of Meat Church here, the official pitmaster of the Dallas Cowboys. Whether you're a backyard griller,
Heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
All right, we're just over 2.5 hours to kick off week 1 of the NFL season is here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a Cowboys game day here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. He's Bryan Broaddus, a Super Bowl champion. We're going to be joined live from Cleveland by Erin Andrews. She'll be on the sidelines today for Fox alongside Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, and Tom Rinaldi. So it's star-studded, first class, as always, and this is a big one. We got to go around the NFL a little bit, look at some scores, but I did want to ask you about, you mentioned the Browns thinking that Tyler Guyton's going to be getting a lot of help today on the left side versus Myles Garrett, but if you're the Cowboys, wouldn't you just say, hey, like, I'm helping whoever has to deal with Myles Garrett? Yeah,
the game plan, the one area that you would worry about the most is a guy making his first start, and they've got a couple of pressure points here. You know, they've got
Zadarius Smith's legit, and it's his birthday today.
Yeah,
the other edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett.
Yeah, this front seven for the Browns is no joke, and their secondary is no joke either. This is a really good defense, and so I just feel like that you've got to make sure that you have things secure for Guyton. You know, you don't want him to feel like that he's out. Now, if all of a sudden he's out there and you're getting, snap after snap after snap, and he's able to hold his own, and you could think about other things. It's like, okay, we don't have to keep a guy in. We don't have to chip.
So you think you start the game with more like you trying to help Guyton as opposed to just trying to figure out where Myles Garrett is and help that guy.
You got to know where Myles Garrett is. You absolutely the protection will be slid to his direction. That you do not want it to be the last thing I think that the Cowboys want, or any of us would want, but what happened in Atlanta that one time with Green. Remember that whole
Chaz Green?
Chaz Green.
Oh,
and the Cowboys never adjusted to that.
Well, shout out to Mike McCarthy and company, because they're much better as it pertains to fixing things.
Well, I remember when Terrence Steele made his first start against the Los Angeles Chargers. Or would have been the San Diego. It's Los Angeles Chargers.
It was still LA at that point.
The LA Chargers, yeah. But if you remember with Joey Bosa, it was single block, chip, help, space, and then it was double team. It never was the same. It was motion across, chip. Mm-hmm. It was lineup guy, two guys in front of him, that kind of handle. So I anticipate you will see something very, very similar to what you got with that day there in Los Angeles.
Okay, let's go around the NFL a little bit. Of course, the big news of the day is Dak got the bag. He got paid, and he is now locked up for an additional 4 years after this season, $60 million per year, highest paid player in NFL history. And I did see that if Dak ends up playing out the length of this new contract, then he would become the longest tenured starting quarterback in Cowboys team history.
There you go.
So how about that, man? Aikman was from 89 to 2000. You had Staubach and Romo, 8 full seasons as the Cowboys starter. But Dak's looking to go not only the highest paid, but the longest tenured Cowboys starting quarterback here if he completes this deal. So you secure Dak, you secure CD Lamb, and then you'll have Micah Parsons coming up in this offseason. And another guy who's going to get paid at some point, of course, is going to be Tyler Smith, maybe one of the best guards in football already in his young career. And we will have him on the program today for the player profile with Chris Arnold coming up here in the next hour or so. So absolutely locked and loaded here on the official pregame show of America's team. We got some scores to get
How
to
about
here.
This? I just saw Sam Darnold to Jefferson for a touchdown. Sam Darnold is 10 for 10 for 136 yards in that touchdown.
Wow, dude.
I'll tell you that's the we've talked about the problems with the Giants. I kind of felt like that the Giants and the Patriots might be the two teams that are kind of battling for that first overall pick.
Yeah. It's hard to disagree with that, even though you have the Patriots right now up 7-0.
I know.
On the Bengals, which the Bengals is your survivor pick.
Houday not getting it done right now. I need my man Joe Burrow to step up here a little bit and then start making some plays. But yeah, it looks like they're going to run there a little bit. Oh, little screen. I love that. I love when you run that screen when you get everybody going one way and then throw it back. You know me, I love nothing better than a good screen game.
I don't know. You're kind of a boots and waggles guy as well.
Boots and waggles, but give me the good screen game. Speaking of good screen game, your Cleveland Browns, good screen game. Tight end delay screen game. So
Njoku.
Njoku, yeah, things to the flat. Kind of keep an eye on that today. Cowboys got to be ready to, if they're going to rush upfield and try and attack, get that pressure, which we've all kind of grown and accustomed to, then you've got this situation where now you're going to look at it and say, okay, well, how do the Browns try and alleviate that? Maybe give Watson some easy throws or easier throws. Njoku in the flat, delayed screen, stuff like that will be a big play.
Jaguars up 7-0 on the Dolphins. You have Steelers up 6-3 right now with Justin Fields starting in place of Russell Wilson. That's a 6-3 ball game in Atlanta. Steelers are up. You have in Buffalo the Cardinals up 10-3 on the Bills. The Titans in Chicago versus Caleb Williams 10-0. The Titans are up, and guess who scored that touchdown? 8 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. That's Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard.
He's a Titan. And then, of course, 7-0 with the Patriots up on the Bengals. The Texans are up 12-7 on the Colts. 17-0 in New Orleans. That's the Cowboys' next opponent. They're up 17-0 right now on the Carolina Panthers. And then the Vikings up 14-3. And listen, the Giants, they were going to struggle. We knew that. But especially when you add insult to injury with what about the look good, feel good, play good? You can't, if you don't look good, you're not going to feel good, you're not going to play good. And they're running out with the 1920s uniform.
You're not liking the 100-year anniversary uniform?
It's a bad look. I know they're trying to pay some homage, but unfortunately they're doing it to the
Mel Heim,
the least aesthetically pleasing era in their entire organization's history.
You don't think, like I say, you mentioned Mel Heim. You don't think he's just appreciate the effort that the Giants are giving today?
I'm not. The only Mel I know is Mel Kiper. Okay, that's the only Mel that I acknowledge.
Okay.
Other than that's going to be the only one. So there is some around the NFL score situation going on. You did have some games over the weekend that were super interesting. I mean, the Eagles did.
Yeah.
They were their offense. I mean, when Jalen Hurts wasn't throwing interceptions, they were really getting some stuff done.
Saquon Barkley off to a pretty good start there, huh?
Saquon Barkley, he was looking like a dude with some fresh legs and some open holes.
This would be where my biggest fear would be as a Cowboy fan. Is if all of a sudden that Saquon Barkley turns into Christian McCaffrey, where he never gets hurt and he's playing like 17 straight weeks. And I'm not cheering for injury, please. I'm just saying.
You're not cheering for ultimate health either.
Well, I'm just saying though that if what's happened with Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he's had a couple of games here and there, but
he's kind of limping into this season a little bit. But I hear you. He was banged up in Carolina a lot.
Always banged up in Carolina. It seemed like he was missing 10, 12 games every year in Carolina, and now he's playing like 15 straight games for the 49ers. I think you'd have to be a little nervous if you're a fan of these teams having to battle the Eagles, and all of a sudden that Saquon Barkley turns into the guy that a lot of people saw coming out of Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley had 1 3-touchdown game in his 76 career games with the Giants, and now he's got 1 3-touchdown game in his 1 game with the Eagles. Do you think, speaking of bad unis and all that, John Mara, do you think we saw those Hard Knocks episodes and he was trying to tell Joe Shane that, you think he's going to Philadelphia? What?
I just don't want him to go to Philadelphia. and now all of a sudden he's like, he walks in that general manager's office and says, Joe, you're fired.
Yeah, I mean, what Saquon Barkley can do for the Giants is much different than what he can do for the Eagles when they actually have a competent offensive line, when they have a respectable quarterback, when they have other weapons defenses have to account for. Just throwing Saquon Barkley with that quarterback and that offensive line. And
Malik Neighbors would help that.
Yeah, sure.
The quarterback situation would be the one where I would go, okay, you have to be better here.
Daniel Jones is the leading rusher for the Giants today at this point. Yeah. I believe he's got 12 yards.
He's going to be the leading rusher in a lot of these games.
I think that's what the Giants are going to be doing, by the way, now that they're done with Daniel Jones. They've paid him, and so they have to be stuck with him right now. Right. But I think they will just run him. I don't think they're concerned about longevity and keeping their quarterback upright. I think you'll see a lot of Daniel Jones running around this year, and for the most part running for his life, but also a couple of designed runs there where Daniel Jones pulls it, and then you just hope that he doesn't get turf monstered. If you're a Giants fan. The other thing I thought that was interesting on Barkley, I saw a guy named Bo Wolf on Twitter point out that this is only the second season in Saquon Barkley's 7-year NFL career in which he has experienced at least one day being over 500. Only the second time in his 7-year career. That is absolutely shocking, and I'm sure he feels like a brand new man, a little bit revitalized there on a team that looked pretty good the other night. I mean, my goodness, they were shooting themselves in the foot left and right, and they're still putting up a bunch of points. So, got to kind of have to tip your cap to Kellen Moore. Maybe he's learned a couple of things.
Sure did. Had some really nice, well-designed plays. And even using Barkley on the wheels and routes and things like that. You had to, motion one way, wheel the other, run guys through. I mean, there was some creativity with that game plan.
Okay, before we go live to Cleveland and welcome in Erin Andrews, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
You're turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
I'm so grateful he's so interested. I'm so grateful. But it's like, as I'm trying to get my Dak Prescott interview, I'm trying to get all lined up. He's like, hey, babe, let me know when you have a minute to look at the doors that I Pinterested. And then I'm like, okay, so I need to get my hair done for the Dak interview. Hey, babe, good news. I finally put all the comments down on my Pinterest page. Good news. What? Good news for CeeDee Lamb. I'm trying to, get the latest on what's going on. Who was cut at the Dallas Cowboys? Hey, babe, do you like this desk? I don't give a about this desk. What? We can't afford that. We're not CeeDee Lamb.
All right, you can hear more of that on her Calm Down podcast with Carissa Thompson. And our next guest has her own NFL women's line of apparel. Super, super talented across the board. She'll be all over the sidelines today for Fox as we kick off a brand new NFL season here on The Fan. And she will, of course, be alongside Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Tom Rinaldi, a no question about it favorite guest of ours here on the official pregame show of America's team. It's Erin Andrews, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew, happy game day to you. I guess besides CD there on that cut, we can now include Dak, right?
Yeah, Dak too. My poor husband, he says to me all the time, if you didn't have me in your life, you wouldn't have material for the podcast. I guess he's kind of right. But, that literally was happening last week. I was trying to make plans to come to Dallas, sit down with Dak. We actually thought Dak was going to sign that contract the day after our interview. We did it, I think, on a Tuesday, and we thought that's when it was going to happen. But regardless, for him and his sweet little family, so glad it got done, and happy for Cowboys fans too.
Yes, absolutely. So is that something we can expect today on the Fox pregame show? You're sitting down with Dak?
Well, it already happened. The Fox pregame show, yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
It happened at noon.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I was thinking before the Cowboys kickoff, but that's my apologies.
No worries. So you weren't watching, but that's okay. Well, it went well. It went great.
You can multitask with the best of them, but I'm here doing radio, watching television. I can't do the same things. We're not all as talented as Erin Andrews. So now, as it pertains to this particular game, I mean, my goodness, you got to sit down with Dak, and you probably got to sit down with McCarthy and a bunch of other folks leading up to this game. So what's the vibe around this football team right now?
I think the vibe is just, excited. It's week one. Everybody's undefeated, right? Everybody's talking about Super Bowls except for the Kansas City Chiefs. That was from their pregame show. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that as well, but I don't know if you watch pregame shows. Very exciting times. Listen, we're pumped to see Mike Zimmer back on the Dallas Cowboys sidelines. Excited to see what he's going to do with Micah Parsons, where he's going to line up. I had a chance to speak to Trayvon Diggs this week. Pumped to hear that he's a full go, no pitch count, as Mike Zimmer told me. He can't be on a pitch count because we don't have enough cornerbacks. So that's very true. CeeDee Lamb, I'm watching him warm up right now. He's got the gold headphones on. He's looking great. No worry from Mike McCarthy with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott about timing. It's just, how much can they get from him when he had missed that much camp? But a lot of talk about him coming in perfect shape. And, of course, that's always the case with him.
Hey, Erin, you mentioned Mike Zimmer. How is Mike Zimmer different as from defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer to interview as opposed to head coach Mike Zimmer?
He's not any different. I am a massive Mike Zimmer fan, and he always took care of me when he was with the Vikings, and I'm so glad to see him back. I have to give a shout-out to the writer from the Dallas Morning News. I tweeted about it. I actually wrote him the article that was written about Mike Zimmer and just what he's gone through. and losing his wife and his son. My God, I was on the plane yesterday. Kevin Burkhardt was behind me. I was sobbing. I sent it to Troy Aikman. It's just really, really well done piece, and I'm so glad Coach is back.
There's no question about that. Erin Andrews with us here on 105.3 The Fan. What an epic story. And, getting to catch up with him in Oxnard for training camp was wonderful. And we're excited about this defense. Now, they're going to have some rookies starting. So, is there
both sides of the ball, right?
Both sides of the ball, no question.
Yeah.
What's the matchup? I mean, Myles Garrett, of course, with the rookie left tackle is a huge one. But then you have the center, Cooper Beebe, on the road versus this Browns defense. That's a lot to ask.
Well, it's a lot to ask against the Browns defense, but it's a lot to ask when you have the reigning defensive player of the year on the other side, who basically can line up at center, can line up, right in front of the center, and also over on the left side as well. So it's going to be interesting. Dak, of course, is saying all the right things. Zach Martin saying all the right things. We're confident in these guys. They wouldn't be in this position if they didn't earn it. But how do you adjust, right? And that's something Dak and Mike McCarthy talked about. Sacks are going to happen, miscues are going to happen, but how do you move forward? How do you adjust? All the coach speak, all that. And Dak said to us, playing up tempo, he loves doing it anyways, but he thinks it's going to be really beneficial today because that's a situation where you finish a play, you reset, you move on to the next. You can't think about what just happened. You got to keep going. And he seems to think that's going to be one of their biggest keys going up against this Browns D today.
Hey, Erin, did you expect to see Ezekiel Elliott in a Cowboy uniform again when you came back around?
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling, didn't you guys? I just felt like the way it was going. We had the game actually that New England played at Dallas. Zeke cried, obviously, when they showed the video. He's just such a fan favorite, and he still thinks he has some left in the tank. Dak does too. It'll be fun to have him back. In talking to Coach McCarthy, he was just saying, with Rico Dowdle, and how will you handle that rotation? He seems pretty confident in having both of those guys, either one of them start. I know Zeke is getting the start today, but it sounds like their biggest thing is just keeping their backs fresh and getting those first downs. So we'll see.
Erin Andrews with us here on The Fan. What have you learned from the Cleveland side of things as it pertains to Deshaun Watson and just his general status? It doesn't seem like he's been super, super healthy.
Well, it doesn't seem like he's been healthy, but he's definitely back. I mean, this is the most healthy he's ever felt. So with everything he's gone through with that shoulder, they seem to think it was a great camp for him. They think, he was saying all the right things with us about when you get hit the first time, how badly do you just want to get it over and move on? So I think we're all going to see, Tom Brady was in our production meeting last night talking about week one is probably the biggest moment of the season that you have the most nerves, the most anxiety, because you just don't know what the hell is going to happen. You don't know how Deshaun is going to handle that first hit. Even Trayvon, how is Trayvon going to do when he makes a tackle, when he goes up against a wide receiver? How are these rookies going to do? What's Dak thinking as, Myles Garrett's breathing down their throat? So a lot of anxiety because you just don't know how the team is going to handle everything. But I'm excited to finally get it going and stop talking to you guys about it.
Hey, Erin, you mentioned about with Tom Brady and stuff like that, and you've worked with some of the best, and and you guys did a heck of a job, with Greg Olson last year and all that.
Yeah.
How big of a transition is that for you? And I'm sure you just, but no, you're like a sponge, picking up stuff and learning and trying to be better at your gig. But you get a guy like Tom Brady. How different is that every year for you? Just kind of like walk into a meeting, you plop down your notebook, and next thing you know, Tom Brady's starting to talk about breaking down week one football with you.
Well, when Joe and Troy left, it was really hard for me because I was very, very tight with those guys.
Sure.
And, I was a little hesitant. And, a guy named Greg Olson came in and ended up being one of my best friends. And I had the best 2 years with him. The cool thing was I was already friends with Tom before he joined our crew. We vacationed in the same area in Montana. He plays golf with my husband. So I've been to a few lunches and dinners with Tom away from the field, and they are probably some of the coolest experiences because of what a great storyteller he is. I always tell this story that, one lunch we were having before the boys went and played golf, he was just talking and, telling great stories, and my knee was just bouncing under the table because I was like, holy crap, you don't get this stuff in production meetings. This is unreal. And as the boys left to go on the golf course, my husband looked at me and he goes, "You're freaking out, aren't you?" And I go, "That was awesome." And that was several years ago. That was before I had any inclination he was going to be my teammate. So having him with us is a really, really cool experience. I'm excited for everybody that I work with to get to sit there and listen to his stories. Last night he was telling some funny ones at dinner. So that was really cool. But, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he picks up on TV, what he's able to say, the observations that he has. It'll be a really cool experience. I mean, the guy's GOAT, so it'll be fun.
Well, Erin, you're the best in the business. We appreciate the time as always. And in this commercial break, we're going to go listen to that pregame DAC interview. Yeah, so
yeah, what the
heck? Sorry about that, Erin. You're the best, though. We appreciate it. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the season.
Take care.
All
okay,
right.
Thanks. Bye.
There she goes. Erin Andrews, ladies and gentlemen. Holy smokes, could that have gone worse to start?
What a way.
I mean, when you talk about first impressions or everything, I just completely S the bet on that.
I think that, would it last a couple years ago that we had her one time on? I think that
might be a one and done situation with the way I handled that.
Next time, she's more willing to do the other team's broadcast than ours.
She has every right to stiff arm me. Yeah. That was
I kind of looked at you
awful.
like, not much on the only old pregame show guy, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm leaking confidence all over the studio right now. We will, of course, continue to get you set for Cowboys and Browns here. Hopefully that's the last time I step in it, but we'll find out. We still got to go behind enemy lines with Nathan Zagura, Browns play-by-play team coming up at about 1:30, but we'll stay in Cleveland as we go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. Just over 2 hours to kick off to start this new Cowboys season live from Cleveland. We're back next year in the nation, or on the Fan.
Football season is here, but it's still hot, which means pests like ants, roach.
Visit meatchurch.com, your ultimate destination for the freshest rubs and seasonings and barbecue supplies.
All right, we're just over 2 hours to kick off week 1 of the NFL season is here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a Cowboys game day here on 105.3 The Fan. We'll go inside the star with Bobby Belt here momentarily, but do you think they get the deal done? Does Jerry see what happened with Dion and Shadur last night and say, we're going to have to scrap that plan, boys. Let's go ahead and go pen to paper. What's he want? $60 million a year? Yeah. Boom. Let's give it. He wants 4 years. That's fine. Yeah. Because that plan with the Sanders situation last night was less than ideal. As Nebraska just tore them up. Sanders was running for his life.
Yeah, it's a nice win for Nebraska considering last year that they lost pretty handedly to Colorado. So it just shows you that Matt Rule gets some players, get some NIL money, get a quarterback, and away you go.
All right, let's go inside the star with Cowboys insider Bobby Belt here on 105.3 The Fan. Bobby's live in Cleveland. How was the trip, Bob? How's the weather out there? It looks like a beautiful day for football.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It's about perfect football weather day. It is sunny. It's nice and cool, but it's not like cold. It's perfect. It looks great out here.
Well, you're fired up because you're probably wearing a hoodie, right? I mean, even if they were playing in Miami, you would be wearing the hoodie today, right?
Didn't even pack one, Bryan. I actually, when I landed, the first thing I saw on Twitter was Dane Brugler, who is now a Cleveland resident, saying, "Welcome to Cleveland. Hope you brought a jacket." And I did not bring a jacket or a hoodie on this one. So
well, there you go. Well, speaking of somebody that could probably buy you a jacket, were you surprised? How late in the night were you working? Because you called me late. And then called me early this morning, and you guys were all scrambling on this Prescott stuff, right?
Yeah, I think this is really like the last 2 days. It seems like this kind of came together. I think it started picking up a little bit of momentum Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, it was really starting to pick up and kind of chug along, and they were able to push it over the finish line. I think the big deal was just there had to be a 6 in the front of that number when you look at the annual value. That was what it was going to have to take to be able to get him to go ahead and trade off whatever he was going to be able to get through free agency in terms of that sort of leverage. So, him getting highest annual value, getting most guaranteed, getting, largest signing bonus, they paid a very steep price to be able to say, all right, we want to take you off the market. So for all the questions about how committed are they, how much did they really want him here? How much more they needed to see? They paid top dollar across the board to be able to take him away from the free agent market.
Bobby, do you feel like that there were ongoing talks, but you mentioned, say, the last 3 days. Do you think that's where the seriousness of it came, or was it just a lot of posturing and stuff like that and seeing if, that Dak would maybe bite on the deal, and he didn't, and he just said if he knew that he would wait,
I think I think the further we get along and the more we talk to people now that this is done, the more we're going to hear this did not have very much movement at all until this week.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I think that there was very little in the way of specifics that were talked about. That's why when people were saying they were far apart, I think it was far apart because they haven't done a lot of the legwork you need to do to get this done. It very much feels like, I've got a project due tomorrow morning and I haven't even started the first paragraph. Like it feels like that kind of urgency that had to be placed on it late. But once the ball got rolling and they were willing to, hit on certain concessions, make certain agreements and say, okay, fine, we can do this here. Then Dak was willing to get it done. Dak was willing to step away from free agency, willing to step away from what probably on the other side is $65 million next year in the free agent market. He was willing to walk away from that and say, sure, you guys, there's a price here to take me away from the market. But I don't think it was much of a negotiation. It was like, here are the price points. You need to meet them in order for me to walk away from this. And I think the Cowboys met it.
Bobby, it appears that maybe not only Dak had all the leverage, of course, in this deal, but it appears like, what were the concessions, if any, that Dallas got? It just seems like a completely convincing win for Dak Prescott here.
Yeah, I mean,
they got the quarterback. I guess that's your biggest concession, right?
Well, I mean, the concession is, I will. Here's a price you can pay today that will have you like you won't have to pay significantly more in the spring before I get to the free agent market.
Sure.
Like that, it's like, when you talk about if you sign up today, it's $20. If you miss that date, here's the second target date. You can sign up for $40 a month. Like when you get those kind of offers for different products or whatever, he was offering them that. So that concession is that Dak could say, look, I very well could get 65 next year. And so I'm giving you a buy it now price a little early. And so in that sense, they got that concession. But realistically, let's look at it. All of these numbers that he hits are the market. Like, that's the market value for a quarterback. So if they wanted him, they were going to have to pay it. There's no conceding anything when it comes to a quarterback deal like this. The Cowboys aren't going to get concessions. It's either you pay the price or you don't. And they decided to pay the price.
How close was he really not to being here, Bobby, at all? I mean, was there a time? I mean, we were kind of talking back and forth that maybe he had enough, and that do you think that's true, or I mean, Eric said this morning, and I think he might be right. I mean, here he's like he probably never wanted to go. Maybe there was a lot of conversation about that he was interested in moving on, but it doesn't appear that was really the case.
I don't think he was looking to get out of here, but I don't believe that he was looking to stay here at any cost, if that makes sense. When Patrick Mahomes signs a decade-long deal with, a lot of things that made it really friendly for the Chiefs to be able to navigate, I don't think he was ever going to sign that, at least not in this stage. I think he felt very comfortable with, hey, if this has to be somewhere else, it has to be somewhere else. If it's here, great. I'd like it to be here, but I don't feel like I have to be here. I think that the cities that, there would be options out there for him next year. Whether that be, when you kind of just look out at the landscape of, well, who could have been looking for a quarterback? Raiders, Giants, Buccaneers. I think those are cities that could have made sense for him and would have been willing to pay the money to have him there. So, I think he wanted to be here. I don't think he needed to be here. And he was not so attached to the idea that he wouldn't have been willing to walk away if they said, well, 58's the final offer or something like that. I think he would have said, okay, well then it was good doing business with you. And so in that sense, I don't think it was like, man, I never wanted to leave. I think it was his preference not to leave, but he was completely content to look for something else if it came to that.
Quickly, Bob, are we going to have any type of CeeDee Lamb pitch count, you think, today?
CeeDee is starting to develop a little bit of a reputation as one of those guys of just, you try to tell him to come off the field. And so, McCarthy has talked all week about the GPS numbers and how good they look, and CeeDee's telling everybody he's full go and he's ready to go. So I think we'll see about normal for him, which is, last year was 84% of the snaps. I think it's what he finished in the year. But in a competitive game, he typically is between 85 and 90% of the snaps. So I think we probably see something similar.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your stay in Cleveland. If you bump into Erin Andrews, please just tell her I'm sorry, okay?
Okay, it's all factories. I love you all.
Thank you, Bobby. There he goes, our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, Inside the Star here, brought to you by the creators of Buffalo. And they're bringing you NFL casino games. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. All right, we're just about 2 hours to kick off now. Week 1 of the NFL season is upon us. It's great to have you in here on your home of the Cowboys on a Cowboy game day. Let's go behind enemy lines in Cleveland, and we'll welcome in Nathan Zagura, Browns play-by-play man, coming up next year on The Fan.
Bell Nunley has been committed to serving their clients for over 4 decades.
Bell Nunnally, behind every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, we're under 2 hours to kick off week 1 of the NFL season is here. Ladies and gentlemen, football's back. Welcome to a Cowboys game day here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan, the official pregame show. We will go behind enemy lines with Nathan Zagura, color analyst for the Browns, coming up here in just a few minutes. But right now it's time for today's player profile. It's the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold hanging out with Tyler Smith. Take it away, CA.
Tyler Smith, how you doing this year?
Good. How you doing?
Year number 2. You feeling good about this kickoff for the season?
I mean, I am. I'm confident in the squad where we're at. And the things we've been working on. We got a great opponent, a great challenge for our offense early on in the year. I think the most important thing is starting fast. So this will be a good win.
That's right. You got the Cleveland Browns here in Cleveland, and you've got Myles Garrett, who's going to be up and down the defensive line. You went to North Crowley. He went to Arlington Martin. You ever run across him either not playing but like just around town?
So I've seen him at Sports Academy. Like I trained there, so I've seen him. However, in high school, he graduated. I think he went to college after my freshman year. I wasn't playing varsity at that point, so I never got to see him in action. But people, some of the older guys did, and they tell me the stories.
So what are you expecting out of him? I've heard that they're going to have him lining up all up and down the defensive line, moving around like we do Micah.
I mean, he's an athletic guy. Obviously, he's an extremely gifted guy. But we understand who he is as a player. Obviously, we've game planned him, as a player, and are going to look to obviously minimize his influence. But he's an extremely talented guy. But, we're ready. We'll handle business.
Speaking of talented, you got a rookie named Tyler Guyton that's right over there, and Tyler Guyton, he's hitting the ground running, kind of like what you did last year. You last year surprised a lot of people, but everybody knew you were talented. Give me a scouting report on Tyler Guyton.
I mean, one thing that pops out is just the size and athleticism. I mean, it's unteachable stuff. I mean, his balance, his speed, his quickness, the way he moves, it's not reminiscent of a lot of bigger 6'8", 6'7.5" guys that you see. And so just seeing the fluidity of his movement, his ability to make blocks and reach blocks is really amazing, especially starting in year 1. So, I mean, his ceiling is extremely high. The biggest thing is going to be experience, and that's something that you gain throughout the year. I went through the same thing my rookie year. I went through my ebbs and flows, my ups and downs, but I learned a lot as well. And with that, with that experience comes confidence, and with that confidence is just going to, come a more elite level of play, I feel like. So
a lot of people think this game's going to be won in the trenches. In other words, it might not be a high-scoring game. It might be a lot of the running game being in play for both teams.
Right. I agree. I think every game is won in the trenches. It all starts with the D-line, offensive line. We understand that. I definitely understand. It's something that we stress in our room. It's just starting things off the right way and really, making our presence felt from the jump. You're either the hammer or the nail. We damn sure better be the nail.
I know that's right. One last thing, any pregame ritual before you get ready? You get out there, you don't do anything early, got some music you want to listen to or eat something special?
I mean, I don't do nothing crazy. I definitely, I pray before I go to bed and I pray before I play. I mean, that's my biggest thing is just being thankful in the moment, for the opportunity that I have and, the fact that, I'm living out my dream and, I'm about to go, execute and do what God has, ultimately blessed me to do. So that's my biggest thing. It's just, other than stretching and, the obvious stuff is just making sure I'm right with my, my Lord and Savior.
Appreciate you, T. Tyler Smith.
I love it. Tyler Smith, ladies and gentlemen, what an awesome dude. Great player, better person, and now he is coming into his own in year 3 as a guy who is gunning for best in the sport at what he does at that left guard spot. He's a super beast, and he will be sandwiched in with 2 rookies there. BB to his right at center and Guyton to his left there. I think that's huge, having that type of insulation for your rookies there. Guyton having Tyler Smith right next to him, BB with Martin and Tyler Smith right there in the middle of that offensive line. That's huge. And I'm curious, just in your mind, how much that helps a guy. How much is Zach Martin saying, hey, BB, this needs to be the call right now?
Yeah, see, this is where, to me, you're very fortunate. You mentioned the two guards, and now you could even say, okay, if you go up to Zach and say, listen, I'll take the guy to my left, you handle the guy to your left, and we'll kind of get through this game. We'll figure it out. You're not putting too much pressure on, Smith to have to carry both rookies today, or you're
right.
thinking like, I'll keep my left eye on that guy to, if you're Tyler Smith. But yeah, it's going to be a big game for these guys. This is really not all about with Myles Garrett. This is a good defensive front, and you've got a quality defensive coordinator here that creates a lot of pressure. And when you start to, if this game turns into, Dallas having to throw the football, then it's going to be even more paramount. We've talked about with Dak and his ability to handle blitzes and handle pressure and all that. But man, this game will be, Dallas going into this game has the better offensive line. If you look at currently how things are configured, I mean, there's going to
Browns are banged up.
Browns are really banged up, so they're going to have their hands full as well. They might not have the names as the pass rushers over there, but man, they have a Myles Garrett and you have a Michael Parsons. Those are if you had to say which one's a wash, that's a wash right there. Now, where does everything else kind of play out? And Dallas's line, they'll be ready for this game. They really they need to be able to have, they just don't need to have this type of game where they're playing well, and then all of a sudden just one breakdown. I mean, this is going to be a game of, they have got to be consistent through the whole game. It's just you can't take plays off against this Browns front.
Yeah, I think when it comes to BB, it's just like, hey, the shotgun snaps as a guy who's not a just born thoroughbred center. He's kind of bounced around throughout his collegiate career and whatnot, and so getting the shotgun snaps off cleanly, and then just the delay of game stuff on the road is something that you can see happening to a rookie center. But Dak Prescott being one of these guys at the line of scrimmage that is like absolutely in command and doing a lot pre-snap, I think that takes a little bit off his plate. Like you hear in Philadelphia how Jason Kelce was the guy at center doing everything, doing a lot of the heavy lifting so that Jalen Hurts didn't have to. It's different here where Dak Prescott's doing a lot of that stuff. And so I think that helps.
Yeah, we'll get into this a little bit later, when we kind of break down some things even more with Cleet Blakeman and being the official today. One of the top 5 areas that they call is delay of games. And so now you always worry about road team, crowd noise, and are we have an official that when it hits the zeros that are making the call? Sometimes we've seen these officials like it hits 0 and they're not making these. They're not throwing.
Give you like an extra tick.
They give you the extra tick. And so, it's going to be about, with BB up front, Dak Prescott helping them, because that's going to set the protections for everything.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things as you're trying to figure out the advantages and whatnot, and I do expect this to be a low-scoring game to what I anticipate to be really, really good defenses with some offensive line questions at the moment, and for the Browns quarterback questions. But on our side of things with Dak, I mean, what he was able to do in shredding the single high coverages last year, which is a lot of what Jim Schwartz wants to do. Play some man, go single high, and you had Dak Prescott last year, and it helps when you have a guy like CeeDee Lamb for sure, who was a monster inside and outside last year. But Prescott first in expected points added per dropback, success rate, raw QBR, all against single high coverages last year. And he was 3rd in first down plus touchdown rate and 5th in explosive pass rate. So single high teams versus Dak find themselves in some trouble. Do you feel like that could be something where you can take advantage of the secondary a little bit?
Well, if you look at metrics like you just did, if you start talking about passing versus play action, the Browns are number 1. If you talk about quick passing game, Browns are number 1. If you look about passing versus blitz, Browns are number 1. Passing versus no pressure, Browns are number 1. Overall passing efficiency, Browns are number 1. There are things that short passing, Browns are number 1.
I'm like, well, go look at, I know it was in Houston, and it seemed like Cleveland was a different team, especially defensively on the road than they were at home last year. But in the playoff game, what is C.J. Stroud doing? I mean, he's lighting them up. There's got to be some opportunities here.
No, there's no question about that. Where the deficiencies that where the Browns struggle is the intermediate passing games.
Okay.
That's where, and maybe the intermediate passing game will be what I talked about earlier when we said that they might play a robber in the middle of the field to prevent you from throwing the ball underneath and to throw, that behind the linebackers in front of the safeties kind of passes.
So you have a deep single high safety, but then you have another intermediate safety.
You show a cover 2 look with 2 safeties on the hash. And at the snap of the ball, you drive one of those safeties into the middle of the field to prevent the crossers.
Right.
The CeeDee Lambs, the Cooks, those kind of, how about even, Ferguson up the field? Those are the kinds of things. That's how they defended the 49ers. They pretty much
just ate up the middle of the field.
They ate up the middle of the field with these 2 safeties is what they did with Delpit, and the way and Thornhill. That's how they played them last year. So that's kind of where I feel like that maybe that you'll see Schwartz like, listen, I'm not going to let you throw the ball in the middle of the field, because when you look at deficiencies where teams have had some success against the Browns is actually running the football. That's where because
maybe the Cowboys can surprise us with a rushing attack today.
Yeah, if you look at, they were one of the worst teams in the league when again looking at metrics, 26th in the league when rushing plays from under center, 23rd when rushing in the red zone. They were a bad red zone team last year. One of the best teams in the league on 3rd down in the field. They get in the red zone. There were a lot of problems that they had with tackling was really bad. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're down on the 3-yard line handing the ball off. It was, hey, we're on the 17 and we just ran the ball in. Hey, we just threw the ball in.
That's so weird. That's such a quirky thing for a great defense like that, who's great in so many categories, and then to be dead last in red zone defense last year.
They were 24th in the league with stacked box, with extra guys, extra help. They were one of the bottom teams in the league when it came to playing run defense when they stacked the box.
So is that your plan of attack today?
It would be my plan of attack if I knew that it was going to be Rico Dowdle being plan of attack. I just need
Zeke's RB1.
Okay, I'll tell you, this is where I need things to happen. If we get to the post-game show and it's me and Zach and we're talking about a victory, it will likely be because they handed the ball to Rico Dowdle more. Rico Dowdle needs to lead the team in rushes today. It doesn't need to be
for the whole season,
and
really.
Like Clarence Hill was reporting today that Deuce Vaughn will likely be active. So, that's if it's, but it needs to be more carries than Ezekiel Elliott today.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the entire season, you want Rico Dowdle being the guy. Now, hopefully he stays healthy, and that's one of the big things as it pertains to Rico. Can he stay healthy? But as constructed, this running back room, he's the best one. So hopefully it's Zeke starting games, but it's Rico getting the bulk of the touches here. And, when you flip it over, the Browns don't have Nick Chubb.
Right.
And, I mean, say what you want about Jerome Ford, who had a solid year last year in place of Nick Chubb, but when you look at the differences, the drop-off is for real. It was a solid season for Jerome Ford last year, 4 yards per carry. What was Chubb last year? 6.1 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Now, that was in limited action before the injury, but that's a big-time drop-off there. Jerome Ford is respectable, but no Nick Chubb with a banged-up Browns offensive line and a quarterback that's got serious questions. Like, that's, to me, the difference in the ballgame.
Well, here's some things, again, looking at metrics with this. If you dive in a little bit further into it, they played a lot of the year last year without Deshaun Watson. So they were not going to be as good on the quarterback scrambles and things. So they were near the bottom. They were 24th in the league with quarterback scrambles. Could be different this year because of the healthier Watson. Dallas was 12th in the league versus playing against quarterbacks that scramble. When you look at the number, their ability to not allow those yards, those big chunk plays with a quarterback scramble, they were 12th in the league last year. Where the Browns kind of fool people. Rushing outside the tackle. What do you think they were ranked in the league last year when it came to running the ball outside the tackle box?
I mean, I viewed them as a team that, with that offensive line last year, they were able to run the football pretty good. So I would say they were upper half of the league.
31st outside the tackle box. Where they killed people was rushing inside the tackle box, as you mentioned. They were 9th in the league. So when
they're running right at you.
When the Brown, their running game is going to be predicated on the ball going downhill. But that's running game Moses. That's Bill Callahan.
Yeah, the offensive line coach who's legendary, who's no longer there.
No, he's in Tennessee today.
So the Browns lose the best offensive line coach in the league, for the most part, in Bill Callahan.
Right.
And they also have a bunch of injuries on the offensive line right now.
They do.
So you can pick on all 5 of these guys?
I think
is Zimmer just looking at every one of these dudes like, oh, we can crush you?
I think where they need to me when it comes to rushing the passer, I think you have to look inside against these guys. I think
really because their tackles are banged up.
Their tackles are banged up, but I'll say this: I feel like though when you watch Bitonio and those guys play, Posick. I just kind of feel like that they don't handle power all that well.
So their guards in their center.
Gardner's center but we'll see what happens on the tackle spot. But they're in a bind. They're in a bind with their offensive line. We'll see if in fact that Jack Conklin plays tonight or this afternoon because Wills is not playing. Wills is out.
Yeah, Jedrick Wills.
So they have to figure out what's going on at left tackle.
James Hudson the third.
Well, Hudson. Okay, if in fact, and again, we'll get an opportunity to talk with some Cleveland people here, hopefully soon. Maybe not. But I
don't think so.
Okay,
he heard what I did to Erin Andrews earlier, and he was like, "I'm not talking."
He's completely out. Okay, if that's the case, then will Jack Conklin be the left tackle? Will he be the left tackle, and then will Hudson or Jones? DeJuan Jones, will he be the right tackle? They really, really like Jones from Ohio State, who was a rookie last year.
Mm-hmm.
Played a lot of snaps.
Well, that is, with Mike Zimmer coming to town, and he likes to get exotic with it.
Yep.
And if you're saying the interior of the offensive line has questions as well as the offensive tackles, I'm expecting a bit of a field day as it pertains. I cannot wait to see just the 4 quarters worth of usage on Micah and where. How excited are you for that, dude? Aren't you expecting to see Micah play in a multitude of different positions? Hopefully, it's getting after the quarterback in every one of those positions, but just in terms of not knowing where he's going to be snap to snap.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that Micah is appreciating about right now about Mike Zimmer is he's willing to say, okay, I'm just not going to put your hand on the ground and let you rush the passer from the outside. We'll see some of that. But to move him around, we even saw it at training camp when it's standing in the A gap and then all of a sudden outside rush through the C gap on the outside. And now that Mike is completely untouched. Those are the things I think that you have to be ready for.
Yeah, that's one thing that we saw at camp, and one thing that we've heard Zimmer talk about plenty is just how much emphasis he has on creating matchups for Micah and what that does for everybody else, of course, in the front seven. And linebacker-wise, what do we know about Overshown, man? Overshown dealing with – he's got the hit. He should be good?
Absolutely good to go. There was no problems with that. I was talking to some people last week about it. There's no issues with him. He should be, he dealt with it the couple of weeks from the end of the preseason, the time he was off until today. He should be just fine.
Okay, that's fantastic because ultimately the pass rush is going to be huge for the Cowboys today because the secondary, no Deron Bland, you have Kalen Carson starting his first game. If you're Amari Cooper, if you're Jerry Jeudy, and you're Kevin Stefanski, who's dialing it up for the Browns, you feel like you got guys, even in Trayvon Diggs, it's like, I'm going to test you today. I don't have the same Trayvon Diggs respect today, first game back from an ACL, that I would when he's rocking and rolling in the middle of a season, getting his hands on footballs. All these guys are going to be tested. So the pass rush is going to be paramount.
Yeah.
And the blitzing and everything like that, Nealand, how much do you expect a guy like that to move around? In terms of, is he going to be rushing from the interior? How is Zimmer going to try and deploy this thing?
I think what's going to happen is when you're going to see some potential nickel rush, Nealand will be that that defensive tackle 3 technique kind of guy. Him and Oso Diggies will be the inside guys.
Okay, well, we got plenty more to break down here. It is week 1 of the NFL season. Cowboys in Cleveland to take on the Browns. Absolutely wonderful. We're approaching 90 minutes to kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. The hay's in the barn. Text in what is on your game day spread today, 877-881-1053, and we'll chat with Babe Laufenberg live from Cleveland next right here on The Fan.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100...
home of America's team, is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
90 minutes to kick off here on a Cowboy game day, Browns and Cowboys, and we're about to head out to Cleveland right now. Huntington Bank Field is where Babe Laufenberg resides. What an awesome picture Babe had, by the way, on his Twitter account today, waking up, opening up the blinds there in the hotel room and seeing the stadium. I mean, with an arm like Babe, he could have thrown a rock and hit the stadium. So pretty incredible, beautiful day in Cleveland, and Babe Laufenberg joins us now on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Happy game day, Babe. How we doing?
Well, thank you. And I was close enough. I could have thrown a rock at the stadium. Now, the problem is probably would have hit a Starbucks like a block away up the street, so yeah. That's why I'm in the booth now.
You can get the distance, but it's the command, right? It's the accuracy.
Yes.
Man, it is great to be chatting with you on a Cowboys game day. Is there anything different about the way the Cowboys are approaching things with the schedule and being on the road and everything like that?
Yeah, it was interesting because Mike McCarthy had the entire team go on what they call the early bus. There was always an early bus and then a bus that left an hour after that one. And some players, they like to get there early, and some guys don't. But one of the things McCarthy has done this year in changing up the schedule is making all the players go on the early bus. Now, I personally never liked the early bus. I don't like sitting in the locker room just thinking about the game. The hay's in the barn, right? I mean, if you're going through your playbook to figure out what do we call it on 3rd and 10, you're a little late to the party there. So I like to get in, get my stuff on, and get out and start your warm-ups. But, again, I think when you've been as good as the Cowboys have been at home, and they've been obviously the best in the league, the only team last year, by the way, to go undefeated at home, and they've been just a very average football team on the road, you look to change things up, and that was something that I guess he found or thought was going to be beneficial.
Babe, the question I have for you, we just got the inactives. Which offensive line is going to be under more pressure today? Because it looks like that Cleveland will be without Conklin and Wills in this game. So backups for the Browns, will they feel more pressure than what the Cowboys are dealing with?
I think to a certain extent, yes. And it's funny, Bryan, because I thought about that during the week. We knew Jedrick Wills, our starting left tackle, was not going to play today. And then we found out, obviously, today, Jack Conklin was going to be kind of a game-time decision, who would have been their starting right tackle. So you've got two backups playing. So does that even out, even though they're veteran players, does that even out the fact that the Cowboys will have two rookies playing? So that'll be interesting. I will say this very quickly, because nobody gives a darn about guards and watching guards play, but they're two guards, Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio, I mean, they are big, strong maulers inside. Mm-hmm. And if you want to find out if the Cowboys have shored up that run defense inside, you can find out in a hurry, because they're both Pro Bowl players. As a matter of fact, Bitonio has been the 6 consecutive Pro Bowls. Wyatt Teller has been the 3 consecutive Pro Bowls. So they are maulers inside. So I would think that more of Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, and also the play calling will be up inside as opposed to trying to hit the edge. But we'll see.
Babe, what do you think about Cowboys offensively? Obviously, CD Lamb being out for as long as he was out during training camp. Do you expect any sort of pitch count or anything like that for him, or is it just unleash the beast?
Well, I absolutely expect a pitch count, because you want him for 17 games, right? You don't want him getting injured in the first game, having a soft tissue injury, pulling a hamstring, something like that, because you can work out all you want. And I've talked about this before. You can work out all you want on your own, right? And with a trainer and doing all that stuff. And you get to training camp and the legs are dead about 2 days into it. So here's the thing for me. You need CD Lamb fresh at the end of the game. And we all saw hopefully we all saw the Thursday night game, right, with Baltimore and Kansas City. That came down to a final drive for Baltimore. The Friday night game came down to a final drive for Green Bay. So if the Cowboys are in a situation in those last 2 minutes, they have the ball and they need to drive down to score, I don't want to be subbing out for CD Lamb on that drive. So I think the main thing is keep him healthy and fresh for the last 8 minutes of the game. We'll deal with the first, 40, 45, 46 minutes of the first three quarters. I want him healthy in the fourth quarter.
when it pertains to the Cowboys on the offensive line. You have the rookie left tackle, the rookie center. How difficult can that be on the road with communication against a really, really awesome defense there, babe?
Well, yeah, it can be difficult. There's a reason why teams tend to play better at home than on the road. You've got familiarity there, but also, it limits your offense somewhat. It's going to be a lot of hand signals, obviously. And, Cooper Beebe probably short of, I'm trying to think, maybe Seattle. You couldn't go into a more, loud, hostile environment that he's going to face here in Cleveland in this opening. I mean, these fans are going to be revved up. Keep in mind, it's a 4:25 kick here on the Eastern time zone. And these fans are going to be ready to rock and roll. They believe in their Browns. Browns were a playoff team last year. They think they've got their quarterback back now in Deshaun Watson. So it's going to be difficult. I think the one thing Cooper Beebe has going for him, and I talked to this with Brad in the last preseason game, I thought Dak Prescott had the good thing going for him his rookie year because he had Travis Frederick, and one of the smartest guys you'll ever come across. So Travis could handle a lot of those line calls, and you knew he was going to be right with him. Dak has told Cooper Beebe, look, you make the call. I'll correct it. I'll change it if I need to, but go out there, make the call with confidence. If I need to switch it up or change it, I will. So I think that's got to give Cooper Beebe a little confidence. Again, having that veteran quarterback behind him. A well-paid veteran quarterback, as you guys pointed out.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Man.
Absolutely.
Were you surprised to get that news today, babe, or were you expecting it?
I didn't know when it was going to come down, and I really didn't expect 2 hours before the game we're going to see that he just signed a new contract, But, hey, we all know things are a little different here in Dallas, right? But I guess that's out of the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. Now he's got to show up in a big way.
Yeah, and people talk about, well, now he's going to have to earn that money in this. Nothing changes, right? I don't think anybody ever said when Dak bowed out in that Green Bay playoff game last year, well, he's only the 8th highest paid quarterback.
Sure.
But the expectation is going to be the same for him no matter how much money he's making.
Hey, babe, we've talked a lot about Carson making a start at corner. Have we not made enough about with Diggs coming back from his injury? It seems like it's kind of played under the radar, I know, in my circles.
In terms of Diggs, I'm sorry, or Carson?
Yeah, Diggs. I mean, everybody's talking about Carson making his first start, but nobody's really talking about Diggs and him making his first start, really coming back from his injury. Should there be some concern there?
Oh, I think so. We've all seen it, right? It happened to Terrence Steele last year, where he came back from his ACL. He played last year, but he wasn't the Terrence Steele we saw the year before, or I think the Terrence Steele we're going to see this year. So typically, you have that ACL, you come back and play the next year, but you're not the same guy, and then the following year, you return to form. So, no, I think you bring up an excellent point. Obviously, with Deron Bland going out, now you're starting a fifth-round rookie at the other corner. That's been a focus, but yeah, we haven't seen Diggs. We've seen him at practice, but is he going to be able to go 70 snaps today? And again, he was not a guy that started training camp on day one.
Right.
They kind of eased him into training camp, and there's a reason for that because he was not 100% healthy and ready to go. So, yeah, that's something we'll certainly be keeping an eye on.
How excited are you, babe, to see just how Zimmer deploys Micah Parsons?
Very. And really the whole defense, we kind of know what we're going to get from Mike McCarthy, right, with his offense and his play calling. We saw it last year. Obviously, there are going to be a few changes, but probably nothing I would be able to even tell you to the naked eye. But that defense is going to be markedly different this year. And I am very excited to see, one, just how they play, and then two, obviously what he does with Micah Parsons. And it's funny, too, I'll go to the other side of the ball with Myles Garrett. Jim Schwartz, their defensive coordinator, who I think is outstanding, he talked about Myles Garrett. He said, we look at film during the week, and the protections of what we see on film is not what we're going to get with Myles Garrett. They play us differently because of him. And I kind of see the same thing with Micah. So you can look at all the film you want on Cleveland last year and how they adjusted to different fronts and looks. But they're going to adjust differently to Micah than they do to the average NFL player. But so I guess the long and short answer is very excited to see the deployment of Micah Parsons today.
Yes, sir. Could not agree more. Babe Laufenberg, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the time as always, Babe. Have a great call.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. It's the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. This is exciting stuff here, folks. We are inching closer and closer to kickoff. 877-881-1053. Coming up next, we go back out to Cleveland, and we get the scoop from the best in the business. Christy Scales joins us next right here on The Fan.
You don't want to miss the next Dallas Cowboys touchdown just because you went to the local store to buy lottery tickets, do you? Now, you don't have to. Jackpot lets you buy your lottery tickets from your phone so you don't miss a beat. Download the Jackpot mobile app on your device today and enjoy a more convenient way to play. Watch your Dallas Cowboys win on the field while you play for a chance to win right from your pocket. Only available to eligible lottery.
Roger that, Sally.
Gentlemen's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, we're just over an hour to kick off week 1 of the NFL season, ladies and gentlemen, on a Cowboys game day. It's great to have you in on 105.3 The Fan, 877-881-1053. That gets the deal done. And we have Rico Dowdle having cut the hair. So when you see Dowdle running around out there today, it'll be a little bit of a different look. And, of course, the rookie Kalen Carson going from 41 jersey number in the preseason to repping that 21, and he's going to have probably a big target on his back today as Amari Cooper looking for the revenge game here versus the Cowboys. Jerry Jeudy is now a Brown, so I'm looking at the secondary right now, Broaddus, with no Deron Bland. Like, who is it? Is it just obvious? You see the rookie out there, and you're the Browns, and you just try and pepper him? Yeah. Or is there somebody else you take advantage? Advantage
that's
of?
why I asked Babe that question about Diggs. Now, I don't think we've talked enough about Diggs making that start. And we've seen in the past these players that have come off these ACL injuries and stuff for the Cowboys.
Right.
Have had, it's taken them, week 6, all of a sudden, they're playing now at a high level. And Diggs is a confident guy. But this wide receiver group, we'll see what Jeudy does. That's the wild card for me in this thing.
No doubt.
Jeudy is very capable of playing at a very high level, but he can also disappear for you as well. But we all know what Amari Cooper is. Amari Cooper will probably not admit it. He's got a lot on the line today, with how things ended here in Dallas for him, and the fact that they basically just a 5th-round pick. They were that just shows you how interested they were just moving on from him.
No doubt.
So this secondary for Dallas, if they do not get pressure, if they do not take advantage of this Browns offensive line, especially throwing the football, man, Amari Cooper can make a ton of plays. Jeudy can make a ton of plays. Njoku can make a ton of plays. I would keep an eye on today on Kevin Stefanski and how many screens he throws this game. If he's worried about Micah Parsons and these guys blitzing, if he worries about the AA gap blitzes and stuff, he's going to think, okay, I'm just going to sneak forward over here. I'm going to sneak forward, or Njoku over here, throw a screen. There are plenty of times they're going to move the pocket a ton today. That's how the Browns are going to throw the ball. I think they do not want to put their quarterback in harm's way. I could see just a lot of simple passes very early in this game to try and get him going.
All right, let's go out to Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland and welcome in Christy Scales, Cowboy sideline reporter. It's time to get the scoop, ladies and gentlemen. Just over an hour to kick off. Christy, happy game day. Welcome to a brand new Cowboys season. And it's going to be a beautiful day in Cleveland. That's good news.
Oh, it's going to be a high about 70, barely any clouds in the air, beautiful blue sky. I will tell you, though, it's a little bit breezy. Winds about 10 to 15 miles an hour, but here in Cleveland, right along Lake Erie, it's kind of a swirling wind. So when you're you're heading towards the west end zone, I'm watching the specialist right now. So this is Dustin Hopkins with the Browns, and then, of course, Brandon Aubrey, the kicker for the Cowboys. When they're going towards the west, the field goal attempts here are pushing to the right, and when they turn around and they're headed towards the dog pound, towards the east end zone, those ones are fluttering to the left. And so with these new kickoff rules, it could come in effect, too, if they're not banging it out of the end zone. I know that you're going to try and squib or try and drop some of these kicks between the 20-yard line and the goal line. The wind may play some havoc in the kicking game. So I know that over the past year with the rookie season, we think that Brandon Aubrey is being automatic, but I don't think anything is going to be automatic in the kicking game today because of these swirling winds.
Christy, you mentioned the kicking game, and I'm curious about your thoughts about the kickoff itself, and that I kind of felt like in preseason, the special teams coaches weren't interested in showing you anything. Have you had any chance to talk to Bones Fossil? I know during the OTA's minicamp, he looked far more creative in some of the practices, too, we saw in Oxnard with this kicking game stuff. Any more thoughts on that?
Yes, you didn't see anything in preseason that you should expect to see in regular season. Of course, he's holding it close to the vest what we're going to see, right? But moving forward, but again, the winds may, try and affect some of these things because you don't want to try and pin it to one side if the wind's going to get hold of it and maybe carry it out of bounds and it be an illegal kick and the ball go out to the 40 instead of the 30-yard line. So, these illegal kicks, it's like the previous years where the ball would be spotted at the 40 instead of the 25-yard line. So I think that could play a factor today. The other thing is, with Cavante Turpin, Mike McCarthy's like, I just don't know how many teams were going to want to try and kick it to Cavante. So I think that most teams are just, going to have to make the decision if they're going to concede the 30 for the new touchback spot or, if they're going to take a chance with him. The other thing is we saw a lot in training camp where Rico Dowdle was the returner that was next to Cavante Turpin. We also saw some times where it was Deuce. And, don't be surprised if you see Wanye Thomas back there as well, because he was a very good returner in college. So I know Wanye had been getting some reps. So, it all remains to be seen. But I think that's an exciting part of coming into the 2024 season to look for. I just hope that what we see with the kickoffs is not too skewed, just with the gusting winds that we have that are basically blowing the ball. It's not horrible, but it's certainly knocking the ball sideways. It's going left on the east when you're headed towards the east end zone, and it's blowing right of the uprights when you're going towards the west end zone.
Christy, the Cowboys have got two rookie offensive linemen going at it. Any thoughts about anybody telling you like, hey, we're going to try and play this thing, trying to help them, not help them? We trust them. Any thoughts from anybody on the sidelines here in pregame about how they're going to handle that?
They're not tipping their hand as to whether like Ferguson or if a Schoonmaker's going to stay in too much. Obviously, the backs can help chip. But here's the thing. Nobody in Cleveland is feeling sorry for the Cowboys.
Not at all.
Rookie linemen, because, of course, they don't have Jedrick Wills, but also Jack Conklin is a game day inactive. So they're without both their veteran starting left tackle and right tackle. So, as much as people, as you can hear, as the Cowboys come out now, that's actually just Cavante Turpin and Deuce Vaughn and Wanye Thomas as they join the other specialists out here, going to work on their returns. It was mostly cheering. I have to tell you that because the Cowboys are in Cleveland only once every 8 years, great representation of Cowboy fans in these first two levels behind the visiting bench. They way outnumber the Browns fans, at least on the Cowboys sideline. But, in regards to the you would say, oh, it's a mismatch with the Cowboys when you have two rookies and you're going up against the Myles Garretts of the world. Well, you're going to have Michael Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence working against backup tackles for the Cleveland Browns.
No question. Both these quarterbacks are going to be trying to avoid some of the best pass rushers in all of football today. Speaking of the quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, newly paid man, does he look like he's got a little extra pep in his step out there in pregame warm-ups today?
A little weight, all that money in his pockets now, maybe slowing him down. Yeah, I was joking with Brian Schottenheimer, the Cowboys offensive coordinator. I'm like, are you going to be able to, do any waggles with him or, any sprint outs or anything like that with all that money weighing him down? But I'm looking forward to talking with Jerry and Stephen Jones with the negotiations that have been going on over the last 48 hours. It's agreed to. My understanding, it hasn't been signed yet, probably not until we get back. But, it really went up through this morning. But, Dak was always trying to say the right thing about negotiations as they went on, but certainly I think a weight off of his shoulders, and then everyone with the team just kind of, take the deep breath. It's over, and now we can just focus moving forward. and most importantly, not have to answer the same questions over and over and over again, because those questions weren't just directed at Dak, they were directed to teammates as well.
Getting the scoop from Christy Scales right here on 105.3 The Fan. Now, as it pertains to CeeDee Lamb, is this just going to be a normal usage game for him today, or do you expect any type of pitch count?
So far, I haven't gotten the answer on that yet. That's one of the things I hope to get right before we kick off, if there's any kind of pitch count for CD. We do know that Flournoy, the rookie wide receiver, is inactive. That's just one of those numbers games, right, where they're having to go with some extra guys. They're also lower at tight end because John Stevens is inactive, but going deeper with the DBs, and you've got Nick Vigil elevated from the practice squad to help with special teams. So 5 wide receivers instead of 6 today for the Cowboys, with the rookie inactive as the coach's position.
Wonderful. Christy Scales, ladies and gentlemen. Christy, you're the best in the business. Appreciate the time, and we look forward to catching up with you next hour.
Sounds good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Bryan.
There she goes, Christy Scales, right here on 105.3 The Fan. Yeah, Dak gets paid today, man. That's got to be, a different type of feeling in the pregame warmups. I saw his lovely girlfriend and lovely baby girl out there in Cleveland. They got to do a little embracing right there just before he started really getting going in the pregame warmups. I saw Cooper Beebe's family out and about as well, the rookie center who's going to have a tall task today. They're in Cleveland, and they're excited to watch their son. And Tyler Guyton, another rookie who, it's all the rookies, of course. Yeah. You know that for the Cowboys. They're dependent on a lot of rookies. These guys are going to be starting. You see Tyler Guyton embracing with his dad there in the dog pound as we continue to get you set for kickoff right here on your home of the Cowboys. It's 105.3 The Fan. All right, we're 60 minutes away from a Week 1 Cowboy kick. Let's go inside the matchup and hear from Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Well, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones as well after getting the Dak deal done. That's all next right here on 105.3 The Fan.
Becky Hammond on being the first woman to coach in the NBA.
What if it's no big deal that I'm a woman? What if it's about striving for excellence and being the best me without the label?
It's not about where others say you should be. It's about where you want to go. It's about a financial services company that focuses on your measures of success. Whether it's for your home or business, we offer personalized service and expert advice to help you achieve your unique goals.
Visit swbc.com for financial services without the labels.
Get ready for some football. Embassy Suites by Hilton Dallas Frisco is only a mile from your team's headquarters. Book now to touch down in a 2-room suite. Kick off with free made-to-order breakfast and intercept complimentary drinks and snacks at evening receptions. From September the 7th through December 31st, receive a discounted rate if you mention our football rate. Book your
Broaddus. Brought to you by Deutsch Family Wine and Spirits, official wine of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. Also brought to you by Bill Nunnally, behind every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
And just like that, we're back for more, ladies and gentlemen. How about that on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network? It's a Cowboy game day, week 1 in Cleveland, and it's about to go down. Dak got paid today. Lamb got paid a couple of weeks ago, and now it is time to go on what we hope to be a Super Bowl journey, and we are very, very excited for that. Under 60 minutes to kick off. Week 1 is upon us, and Bryan Broaddus is in studio, a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl winning scout. That's what you are, sir, and it's great to be along this journey with you once again for another Dallas Cowboys season.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. The early games kind of coming down to some tight games here, and you know that's what you expect. You know, I haven't.
It's the witching hour right now.
It is the witching hour for sure. You know, the things you have to worry about in opening games, though, Eric, is yes, there's both teams are kind of dealing with lineup changes and dealing with injuries and stuff like that with the offensive line, and
Cleveland's banged up, man.
Cleveland's banged up as well. But you always worry about the opening day and the weather conditions. We've talked to Christy about it or not. You know, you're talking about 70 degrees, sunny and all that. But a lot of these starters have not played, meaningful football in a while. And so you do worry about a little bit about conditioning, worry about a little bit of maybe some cramping going on in these games. You know, when you get going and all of a sudden it's guys aren't used to.
Hope they pack the pickle juice.
Yeah, that's, always, that was one of the things I had concerns with on the first, say, 2 games of the season were the condition of my team and if we're running a lot of plays or having to defend a lot of plays. That's something. How's the depth of your team going to be taxed, especially the first 2 weeks of the season when these players are trying to really kind of get into football shape?
Well, let's get into the preview here, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. This Browns defense is legit, one of the best in the sport last year, and they have the Defensive Player of the Year, local legend Myles Garrett as well, with some rookies starting on the offensive line. What do you expect to see from the Cowboys offense today versus this pretty dominant Browns defense?
Yeah, it's everybody. That seems to be the focal point of where this game could very well hinge for Dallas. We've all been scarred in the past with guys having to play out of position, new starters on. The one thing Dallas has done an incredible job with is plug and play. And so
on the O-line,
it is when you start to talk about, and there was going to be this supposedly a competition for the center spot, with Brock Hoffman and all that. They got about a couple of weeks in the camp and said, no, this is Cooper Beebe's job, and he got the opportunity. And Tyler Guyton has looked very well in the opportunities he had. When I was at camp against the Rams, the one-on-one stuff he was able to do in those preseason, those opportunities of practices, and then the games that he was able to play against the Raiders and stuff. So, yeah, it's something that both will be pretty wide-eyed, and it'll be a very exciting environment. But you have a veteran quarterback, you have veteran teammates around them in order to help them navigate anything that might come up.
All right, still to come here as we lead you up to kickoff on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We will hear from hopefully Jerry Jones, maybe, and Stephen Jones. They get the Dak deal done today. Absolutely huge, so we got to hear about that. And coming up next here, under 60 minutes to kick, let's get the Coach's Corner live from Cleveland. It's the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey, Dallas Cowboys fans. Hope y'all are ready for game day. We all know.
Feel as a community through it all.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
All right, we're about 45 minutes to a Week 1 Cowboy kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you in the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, the official pregame show of America's team. Let's go out to Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio for today's Coach's Corner. It's Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
All right, fellas, opening day. Mike McCarthy, get a little extra juice on opening day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what we've been working for, and obviously started back in April, but yeah, we're ready to go. And I think, I love the outdoors, and, it's your first road game too, so a lot of excitement. This is a great stadium, great environment to play in, so yeah, definitely a little extra juice for sure.
You mentioned the road, so let me start there. I think people in my business make a lot more of the road than maybe coaches do. Road never beat anybody by itself, but it can get in your head. So you did have the record that you had last year. Do you have any reasons why? I know you've tweaked the schedule a little bit to try to address it.
Yeah, I just think like anything. I mean, scheduling is important to me because, every head coach, every organization, anytime you're trying to train a group of people, the flow and the intricacies of your flow is important going into the game. So it's not a matter of this is wrong and now what we're going to do is right as far as the tweaks we've made. We're just trying to create more urgency. So we've adjusted a couple things. But yes, I agree with you. I like your statement. The road hasn't beaten anybody, but it is tougher to win on the road. And look at our home record. I mean, just for the comparable. But I think there's clearly intricacies each and every place you play. We're an indoor team coming to an outdoor stadium this time of year, later game, grass field, on the water. So just some more of an awareness. The footing is very, very important, making sure the shoe wears properly. So it's more things like that. And the big thing is the momentum swings and the energy that the crowd brings too. So I've always just liked to get out there and just say, they're cheering for us. They just don't know it. So, but it's kind of been my approach. But I think it's clearly something that you have to get done if you want to be a playoff team. You have to find a way to run on the road. I mean, you've been doing this longer than I have. The old adage, win them all at home and half on the road, and then you'll be looking at the number 1 or 2 seed.
That'll usually be a good formula. Yeah. The off season. This is going to be my word. The off season was interesting in that there's a lot of uncertainty that normally doesn't exist all at once. Contracts, players leaving, rookies starting. And do you feel more uncertainty coming into this year than in the last couple?
I would say uncertainty. I think just the biggest thing is I'm going to go back to one of the questions before is just the ability to get the flow that you like to have, and that comes with continuity, consistency through training, and that takes time together. And when your time together is disrupted by whatever means, injury or contracts and things like that, there's just more work in front of you that needs to be done, and that's just really the facts of the matter. Because I'm a huge believer in stress. The management of stress. There's real stress and there's made up stress, and like anything in life, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, you just got to try to stay away from and have the ability to sort through the made up stress, because we all have real stress. This business is very stressful. So but just the made up stress are the things that you have to try to eliminate the best you can. And as we know, when you're talking about group dynamics and performance and getting ready to go win football games on the road in Cleveland, it's that time together and that emotional connections is so important.
Last thing. People are very curious about how the running backs will be used. Tom Landry used to talk about his handling of quarterbacks, and he would say, well, I just do it by feel. And that kind of worked for him. Is that kind of how you're going to do this?
Well, I think it's a number of things. I think number one, if you ever how you design your offense, how you want to play, we want to play with a high pace of operation, but I'm also looking at the long game. It's a 17-game season. So the reality is I want a fresh running back in there. And that's really is the goal each and every time, we have a play called, and so you'll see more of a rotation, just really based on their freshness. And I'm talking about the first two running backs, and then after that, it'll be more selective based on personnel because all these guys got to play. I'm not trying to hit marks. I don't have targets that I'm trying to hit because at the end of the day, it's the flow and the ability to get in and out of the huddle. We have great confidence in all those guys, Zeke, Rico, Deuce, and Hunter. So, but let them play. But it's just the flow of the offense because, I want to spin them plays in there. I want Dak to grab it and go. And, we don't want to be holding up the process I got to get this guy this play, that guy that play, that guy that play, because it just slows everything down.
Enjoy the opener.
All right, you too.
Thanks very much for the time. Fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. All right, it's the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. There's Mike McCarthy chatting it up with Brad Sham, talking a little strategy here, what we got going on. I'm curious, Broaddus, when you look at this Browns offense, I just feel like there's so many things that the Cowboys can take advantage of. Is there anything about this Browns offense that gives you legit fear of like, man, they can really do this to you?
Amari Cooper does. Yeah, I mean, Amari Cooper, you could play Amari Cooper in the slot. You could play him outside. You could match him up. If they really want to, they could find a way to wear Jordan Lewis out in this game, by putting him inside and say, okay, well, let's see if Jordan Lewis can run. When you look at the way that Amari, his route and how he's able to explode, the quickness he comes up, he's one of the best sideline catchers when you run him on the out. All of a sudden, the ball's there. It has to be an accurate pass, and we'll see.
Tap.
First down. Yeah, and so Amari Cooper, he would worry me in this game from that regard. And I think there's a little bit of an unknown too with Jerry Jeudy. I wonder how they're going to play David Njoku in this game.
Yeah,
he is going to be. I have a feeling that very early in this game, he is going to be a focus point for the Cleveland Browns.
Both tight ends are going to have an impact in this game. Njoku and, of course, our guy Jake Ferguson on the Cowboys side of things, who's probably the second best skill guy you got after CeeDee Lamb. So looking forward to seeing this Cowboys defense. Mike Zimmer, a couple of rookies, Micah Parsons. You got Trayvon Diggs back. There's going to be a lot of fun with this Cowboys defense today in Cleveland as we get set for kickoff here, and we continue to inch closer and closer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go into the owner's box live in Cleveland. Coming up next, Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up and Go service makes grocery shopping easy.
Buffalo winning scout is about to give us today's Zebra Report, ladies and gentlemen. It is the official pregame show of America's team. Welcome to Week 1. And as we get to know the enemy, brought to you by Aero Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully today's enemy won't be Cleat Blakeman and company as the referee crew. What do we need to know about these guys?
Yeah, here we are in Week 1. Cleat Blakeman officiated 2 of your games last year, both the games at home, so you were 2-0 with him. He covered your Jets game and he covered your Seahawks game. Your game against the Jets, 6 penalties for 38 yards. The Seahawks game, 9 for 127. What you need to know about Cleat Blakeman and his crew, he's got a couple of different, a couple new members on his crew, but overall, though, same personnel. Where they were big last year were offensive holding, defensive pass interference, delay of game. I mentioned that to you earlier about that. And then defensive holding and roughing the passer, top 5. So offensive holding, defensive pass interference, delay of game, defensive holding, and roughing the passer. He had 7 calls last year for roughing the passer. So you just, in a game where both teams have an elite pass rusher, and maybe some guys that are trying to get home, and both teams can put pressure on this quarterback. So Cleat Blakeman, you got to be careful about that. If you're around knees, low on the ground, stuff like that, hands to face, shots like that, will call that. The thing that kind of gets me a little bit concerning would be the offensive holding penalties, because the Cowboys have got a couple of rookies starting there. But the Browns also have to be concerned about it as well, because they've got some backup guys that are playing in this game.
Both of these offensive lines are big questions coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, the Browns are banged up, and the Cowboys they have rookies that we're excited about, but day one on the road versus Myles Garrett and company, that could be tough sledding.
Yeah, it could be very tough sledding. And we don't want to see what happened like in that game that was played in Brazil with Ron Tolbert and his crew. That thing just seemed like, to me, that was just a flag fest.
Dude, the first 2 games, I don't know what it's been like today, but the Thursday night and Friday night games, it was 15 penalties per game.
Yeah.
Flag happy.
Yeah, you look at, you're absolutely right about that. Ron Tolbert, they had 26 total flags in that game Friday night. And then Sean Hockley on Thursday night had 20 calls. Now, like I say, there were with Tolbert's crew, they had 9 of them were dismissed, 7 against the home, 10 for the aways. I mean, yeah, you just can't have that early in the season. Yeah, there's going to be some sloppy play that goes on, but these officials have got to let these guys handle these games. Don't be the guy the gal that's calling these penalties, and killing any type of flow that we have to these games.
All right, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys is brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Now, CeeDee Lamb, we're super excited to obviously see him really for the first time after an offseason where he wasn't a part of the Oxnard practices that you got to be out there for Broaddus and everything like that. So, but I am curious where on this Browns defense, it's a really legit, it's a good defense. But where can you take advantage of them? Is there a guy on this Cowboys offense that you think maybe it's Jake Ferguson, maybe it's the speed of Brandon Cooks or a Turpin or something like that you feel like, man, this guy could have a day today?
Yeah, this is the tough one when you're starting to talk about the Browns and where they do a really nice job when it comes to playing on the back end. I think the safeties, if you're going to take advantage of them somewhere, I think it's probably at the safety spot, and this could be a big game for Ferguson. I mean, I think with Delpit and then Thornhill, I nice players, but the coverage aspect of it, don't think it's very great. The thing I would stay away from Ward, Emerson, Newsome. Newsome's going to play out of the slot. So if you're going to take advantage of one of the 3 corners, I think I would go at Newsome coming out of the nickel a little bit more. Maybe that's CD playing inside
For sure. We know he's capable.
and using those routes. But
Okay.
I have a feeling that if you're going to have some plays being made, it's going to be on Delpit and Thornhill, the two safeties. That's where I would go.
All right, we're under 30 minutes to kick off Cowboys-Browns Week 1 of the NFL season. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, live from Cleveland, next right here on The Fan.
At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we've spent 80-plus years in the business of fun. Expert fishing fun. Early morning hunting fun. Late night, need new cleats before tomorrow morning's game fun.
Roll for free today at AA.com. American Airlines, you are why we fly. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, the Hayes in the Barn, ladies and gentlemen. We're 20 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff week 1 in Cleveland. Let's do this thing as we go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Now, there in the commercial break off the air, Brad, Broaddus was kind of hinting at this being a sneaky must-win game for the Cowboys today. I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, if the hay is in the barn, why are we still driving around in the tractor out here?
We just like we're outdoorsmen, Brad.
Yeah, but I mean, if the hay's in the barn, we ought to be sitting at the kitchen table. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So
Okay.
that's number one.
I just can't believe
I don't think Bryan's wrong.
No, I didn't say that. Brad, he's making stuff up. He was trying to drive me off sides on this one.
I'm just lashing out. I've had a very bad show today.
Just how he is.
Yes.
But, I think that look, this is preseason.
Yeah.
Except it counts.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys who are going to play, I'm not sure what the Browns have done, but for the most part, the players who play, they haven't played in a month.
Yeah.
They've practiced, but there's no way to know what to expect, and especially in this game, we nor they know what to expect from Cleveland's quarterback. They're playing with 2 backup tackles. Fair enough, they're guys who have starting experience, but they're both their backups. And for the Cowboys, goodness gracious, we got a whole new defense. We got rookies starting. I don't know if the quarterback with his wallet so heavy now can run around the field. So it's fascinating. It should be good theater because we have no idea what to expect.
Brad, bold prediction: the Cowboys running backs are going to surprise us today.
Well, they're capable, and I don't think I don't think you're going too far out on a limb that won't hold you up. Mm-hmm. You heard Mike McCarthy in the pregame.
Right.
And he wants pace. He wants tempo. I think we're going to see Elliott and Dowdle both a lot. And the thing that I took from what he said, Bryan, was about how he wants that play into the quarterback and executed fast. They want to play fast today. And, Tom Landry used to say he would decide who played quarterback based on feel.
Right.
And no one could challenge him on that. And McCarthy basically, he didn't say, yes, that's what I'm going to do. But, whoever has the hot hand is going to go. Now, there will be specialty packages for Vaughn or Lipke. But, I mean, they're both going to play, and I think they're both capable of doing something, and they have to.
How surprised were you to see that deal get done at sort of the last second right there this morning, Brad, between Dak and the boys?
Not surprised at all. It would have been great if they'd done it in March, but they didn't, and it just didn't make any sense that it wasn't going to get done. And so if it's going to get done, the best thing about it being done is that we can stop talking about it, and the players don't have to answer questions about it and listen to it. That stuff weighs on you. I don't care how strong. I don't think it weighs on Dak. I've never seen him so focused. But the other players, they look around and they say, wait a minute, if they're not going to take care of this guy, what chance do I have? And so I think that's gone now. But I'm not surprised, Eric.
Brad, it's 2 really quality wide receivers that we know about. I mean, we've grown up, watching these guys play. I mean, when you got talking about Lamb and you got, Cooper, which one has the better day?
Depends on on how they play the defense now. Cooper is clearly one of the great route runners in the league. If the Cowboys are going to play more zone defense this year than we are accustomed, to them playing. And if that's the people want to make it digs on Cooper, now you can play zone defense and still switch that one guy,
right?
Like a matchup zone in basketball. But I think that's a great question. I will say that maybe the strength of the Browns is their secondary, and so that's why what you said before about the running game, that's going to have to really get going in order for the passing game to work today, in my opinion.
Brad Sham, you're the GOAT. We appreciate the time as always. Cheers to another season, and enjoy the game.
Thank you. You too.
There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. And now, Brian Broaddus, it is time to get our official Cowboy predictions for Week 1, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. And you're the Super Bowl champion, so I'll let you go first here. What you think in Week 1 Cowboys?
Yeah, I have Dallas. I think Dallas has the better quarterback. I think they have the better offensive line right now. We'll see if they have the better running game and the better passing game when it's all said and done. I like Mike Zimmer and his involvement now with what he's been able to do with the defense. I think he's got some personnel that he really wants to work with and excited to work with. I'm going to go with Dallas 23, Cleveland 16.
I love it. A little bit of a low-scoring game. Definitely going to be a defensive effort from the way we see things from here, but you never know how things are going to go. I'm going with the Cowboys as well. I just feel like there's a lot of questions on both sides, but the one thing is you don't question the Cowboys quarterback. You do question where things are at with Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. I'm taking Cowboys 17-13, starting 1-0, and that's exactly what we want right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. All right, that'll do it for us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. We got Brad and Babe and Christy. They'll have you the rest of the way. Kickoff around the corner, and Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Hi, I'm Bob. No, not your dad's friend Bob who let you play with.